Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tane Talks. I am your host, Tane, here to talk about Married at First Sight, the new batch of episodes, specifically episode 7. I have a guest today. I'm happy to have my guest today. And my guest is Camille from season 18 of Married at First Sight. Hi, Camille.
Hey.
It's good to have you on. We were just talking before we came on, like you just had a vacation. How have you been? How is life? Give us the update.
Yes, life is good, fresh off of a vacay, so I feel refreshed and rejuvenated, at least for now.
Yeah.
But everything's been really good. I feel like we've been on the move and just having fun. And summertime Chicago is undefeated. I stand by that. That's what part of what makes it the best city. But yeah, everything is really good. I cannot complain at all. And, just been living life. And it's nice to kind of be not the ones everyone's focused on.
Yeah.
So that feels good too.
Yeah, and if anyone forgot, season 18 just hit Netflix, I think. So it's like a whole new reliving the whole thing all over again because people watch it like it didn't happen 2 years ago or something. So
Yeah. And literally almost 3 years ago, Tane, in
yeah.
August, we're going to be coming up on our third year or like 3 years married.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
So that is crazy though. It definitely is a whole new wave of
yeah.
people watching it, and it's their first time seeing it, and so all the emotions are fresh again and all of that. So that's been kind of crazy too.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, because of the Netflix thing, actually, we've been getting recognized again a lot more in
Mm-hmm.
a whole new wave. And so just in our trip that we just took, I would say we got recognized more in those 4 days than
Oh,
we have probably the last 6 months combined, like, yeah,
wow.
at the airport and even at the resort. But it's fun. I mean, I'm so glad. I feel
Yeah.
so blessed that,
Yeah.
out of everything we could be getting, it's a piece of cake. It's all love. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's probably also the halo effect of season 20. It has finally done what I wanted it to do when it went to Peacock because it didn't happen last season.
Yeah.
And everybody is like, I'm watching Married at First Sight for the first time. Oh, I heard this. I'm watching Married at First Sight, which is great, like I said before. But it's just like sometimes you got to know the lore, you got to know the history. Don't just come in there. We've been there
Yeah,
from the
exactly.
beginning. So,
We've been in the trenches. We
yeah,
know, how far it's come.
yeah,
And I agree. I think it was perfect timing on Peacock's part too, because just coming off of Love
yeah.
Island, that obviously has such
Yes.
big viewing. So I think people
Yes.
are like, all right, well, what am I going to watch now? And that's been the next
Yeah.
segue for people. So I wonder if that plays a part too.
Yeah. And this is their first actual Peacock season because last season was filmed for Lifetime. So it was still fitting things and everyone felt like that was so quick. What happened? So we're
Yeah, it felt
seeing.
really, yeah,
Yeah.
really patchy or, just kind of
Yeah.
it felt a little more thrown together where this is giving,
Yeah.
a full comprehensive planned out kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah. We're seeing the new DNA of
Yes.
Married at First Sight. So we're going to jump into the episode. But before we do, just as, Camille was mentioning, like from season 18 that came up on Netflix, if you're interested, I did have an interview with Michelle and it is up. You can go check that out. And guys, I know you're just watching it now, but the time has passed. reflections have been done. So it's fun to listen and go listen to hear, her side of the story and everything with that from season 18. And I also have Clara from season 12. So you can always check that out. And there's a whole bunch of other interviews from people from other seasons. And also patreon.com/Teen Talks. You can check out bonus episodes. I am running a special 50% off your first month all through the time that MAFS is streaming, which is till like August 27. And there are different tiers. There's video, there's 90 Day Fiance, there's documentaries, there's the polygamist, there's a lot. So, and we're chatting about MAFS because half of us can't believe what we're watching and we're out there. And you can be a free member. You don't have to pay. You can be a free member and you can participate in the chats. Like it's all love. It's just for the love of reality TV and maps. So go check it out at patreon.com/Teen Talks. Okay. Now I can ask you, what do you think of this new season that is like the direction that they're going towards so far based on the episodes that we've watched?
Yeah, I feel like I have so many thoughts on just the format, the people, what we're seeing. But
Yeah.
all in all, I actually really like it. I was not necessarily convinced
Mm,
last season. Like
mm,
I liked I had no problem with the people, anything like that.
mhm.
But it did just feel a little
Choppy.
clunkier, yeah, choppier. And so I do like how things are moving. It's funny because, I always say when you're watching yourself, you like the filler stuff and you like, when you know all the people personally, you like to see all the little bits and the lead up and everything. But I do definitely appreciate now at the beginning just filtering out a lot of
Yeah.
that fluffy stuff and just
Yeah.
getting right into it. And
Yeah.
so I've been appreciating that. And I do kind of like the group setting
Mhm.
stuff. I think that, I'm still feeling the experts out. I really, really like
Paul.
Paul. Yeah.
We're on the
Yeah.
same page.
Yeah. And so I just, again, Dr. Lisa she's growing on me, and I think I just have to get used to her personality a little bit. Can't relate, huh?
Not watching on video, I'm making faces. That's what, Camille is laughing at. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's I have to keep seeing more
Yeah.
from her, and I think that it's just different. I think her personality is a lot different from any expert that we've had before,
Yeah.
so maybe that's part of it too.
Hmm.
So, yeah, all in all though, I'm feeling it. I like it. There's a little bit of me that's I think gonna always mourn the old maps a
Yes,
bit because
absolutely.
it just was so, there was
Yeah.
18 seasons before it switched over. So you got used to the
Yeah.
people and the way they went about things. So there's a little bit of that, but from just a reality TV standpoint, I'm getting into this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I've said this over and over. It's just, you said it perfectly, mourning what was and accepting what is now.
Hmm.
It's different. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's just like leaning into the entertainment. But I miss the fact that the stakes don't seem so high enough. Well, let me ask you, do you think the marriage is illegally binding?
That is such a good question. I don't know. Part of me is almost leaning towards no, but
Yeah.
I have nothing to base that off of. But I
Yeah.
just feel like if they're basing the show, if there's some similar, I actually have never watched UK or Australia. I've heard they're
Okay.
good,
Yeah.
but if they're basing it off of that, I feel like I did hear that they don't
Yeah.
get legally married and
Yeah.
on the other ones. So I wouldn't be surprised. If anything, I almost feel like it would help the show out not having to help coordinate divorces afterwards and even just getting the marriage certificate and all that. That was a whole thing. So I
Hmm.
feel like that if anything, it just makes them easier and then it's not like they have to disclose one way or
Oh,
another
the
to
other.
the viewers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it definitely the old mass was giving a little more wholesome, I would say, in a
Yes.
way, out of all the reality shows. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably what we're gonna start getting away from a little bit. But we'll see. I mean, there's some wholesomeness on this season. So at least
There
from
is.
couples or at least one for sure.
Yes, at least one for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I've been saying like I don't think they're, legally binding, only because and my proof was like the threat. Pascal always used to say, the only way out is divorce. We're,
Yeah.
we're not hearing that. There's not a lot of emphasis on that, and that's fine. And yes, I do watch Australia, and it's not a legally binding marriage. But the thing is, they never say that. It's just we know that. So I think that's the same thing. They're not bound to tell us or, say anything. And I think that if there were marriage licenses, someone would have found it by now.
Yeah,
So,
that is true. That is
you
true.
know,
There's some people that like to do their due
their
diligence and their
homework.
research investigating. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's very true too.
Yeah, and I think the only difference, like I'm fine with the format because again, I've told people the Australia dinner parties and the group sessions are my favorite parts, and Australia comes on 4 times a week. And the only difference is that they have 11 couples because four or three more couples come halfway through, and they make them
Oh.
come in. They make the older people attend their weddings, and it says it gives them that rejuvenation or that competitiveness, which we're kind of seeing in the U.S. Whether they like to say it or not, they're being competitive and comparing themselves, which I've struggled with in the past. When people say mingling in MAFS, I'm like, people are gonna say we're not at the same level. But again, I have to just accept it is what it is. So maybe it gives you a kick in the pants to want to do that, but it's
Hmm.
too much. Like even at the honeymoon, one meetup, then another meetup, then another dinner, then another, then you're focused on other people.
100%. I definitely had that down in my notes when we,
Yeah.
get to some of the couples and
Yeah.
unpacking the dinner a little bit. I definitely wrote that down in particular about, one couple that I think it's easy to feel like you should be at that place. But when you
Yeah.
start looking a little further, sometimes it's just
Yeah.
they're only resting in that
In that.
fun
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with the, experts, I've been very vocal. Paz is not doing it for me. She seems too happy to be on TV, like she's on there too, and I'm like, "I don't need that from my expert. I need my expert to be even keeled." And I hate for it to sound like, "Oh, I'm supporting a man," but I am more familiar with Paul. He
Mhm.
has been doing this. If you see his podcast too, he's so, like, calming, and he seems like he's speaking with intent, and Paz just seems to, like, yes, everything he says, and it's like, "What do you think?" And then the whole expert session with Devin and Caitlin, that was it for me. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, that
So
was kind of tough to watch. And I think, at least from what we've seen so far up to episode 7, he is just offering a little more of the, yeah, therapy or, a
mhm.
little more help and let's unpack this and getting behind this versus, and it could be an editing thing. I think that's why I'm trying to give
Yeah.
her a little bit of grace is I know for a fact they're probably having these like 45-minute long sessions
Sessions.
and we only
Mhm.
see a few minutes. So maybe they're only keeping her ad libs and like her cosigns and
She's
things
the
like
ad
that.
libs.
That's what I'm trying to. I'm like, there's no way that could be their whole conversation. But yeah,
Yeah.
at least from what we've seen
Yeah.
up until now, he is just providing a lot more guidance, it feels like. So
Yeah.
I think that's why I like him a lot too.
Yeah. I wonder why they went down to 2. Like, even with 3, it didn't seem like enough, and sometimes they needed 2 people. So to go down to 2 with more couples, I don't understand that, and that was very interesting. I was hoping they would keep, Dr. Pia, but I think from the video Pastor Cal brought out, I just think maybe they were not in tune with the direction that it
Yeah,
was going and all that, so that makes sense.
I
Okay.
can see that.
All right, let's dive in and start with Marissa and Adam. This is our surface couple where I keep thinking, is it so bad? They just started, maybe that's where they are and they'll progress. Because sometimes if you get so intense and get so serious, you're just like, it's too much. And people forget that we're all different. Yes, some people like to have the deep conversations, and maybe this works for them. And even if they don't progress and they're in the shallow, that's for them to figure out, So he's making her a grilled cheese sandwich, and I'm surprised. I thought mac and cheese was poison. What are we doing? Like,
Hmm.
what's happening?
It better be freshly grated, bought from the farmer's
Farmer's
market.
market.
Yes, block of cheese. I better not see one, yellow 7 or whatever the red 5.
I know. So they talk about, and that's the thing, we keep saying that they're shallow, but then they have splices of conversations where they get to know each other. And they talk about if they would have dated in college. This man, this Sim, he's like, I would have hit, but not sure if I got married. I'm
Yeah.
like, isn't this insulting? Like, but she laughs because that's all she does. And I think that is the issue with them, is that she's going along just to get along. And we'll get further where, he mentions that he tells her that, oh, he's always wanted to be married since he was 18. And yes, he says this. Yes, his friend said this in episode 1, but when you say things enough, it could become true. But nothing about this man. This is a man who didn't want to make a phone call. so I mean, I don't know how to reconcile both things, together with what we know of him. So she tells him that she feels like he's mature, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. And he says like he's a relationship kind of guy. And then she asks for wine. He's like, oh, don't move, I'm gonna pour it for you. And then he asks like, did you think it would be difficult because I don't drink? Because I sure as hell thought it was gonna be a thing. And she's like, no, that she thought, it'll actually be good for her. And to his credit, it doesn't seem to be a problem. I fully expected him to like lecture her every 2 seconds,
Mhm.
but it's not been a thing. So,
I agree.
good for them.
Yeah, I feel like I dated a guy once who didn't drink, and that was it was like I just thought it was going to be a concern. And when I say date, it was like a couple dates, but I
Yeah.
do remember thinking, and maybe I was building it up too to be more
Mhm.
of a thing. Whereas a
Mhm.
lot of times if people make it like made that decision to not drink,
Mhm.
they're also not a hermit at home. They've
Yeah.
gotten used to going out and still can have a good time. And
Mhm.
as I get older, I see a lot more of the possibility of that too. Like I could
Yeah.
go out and not have to have some drinks to have a good time.
Yeah. I think it was just the way they presented him. Like he was just like, I've trained people to be athletes. Like, oh, you don't do that, poisoning your body. So
It was 100% it was the combo of things. If someone with a different personality type, at least from what we've seen, was saying
yeah.
they didn't drink,
Yeah.
at that point when he said it, was like, oh brother, this guy, it's just one more thing that
yeah.
adds to it. And so
Mhm.
that's he's
Mhm.
been, I think, showing up a little differently
Yeah.
as time goes on versus who we first saw at the beginning.
And I think it's to his benefit. When you present someone where the bar is on the floor, the only way up is up. So we expected the worst from him. So we're like, oh, okay, this
That
is
has
good.
it. You hit the nail on the head because I swear, yes, his reputation. I didn't even know the man. It was in the toilet for me
Yeah.
when I first started watching. I'm like, ain't no way. Um,
Hmm. And he
but
hasn't played a piano. So that's good too.
yeah, exactly.
So I did notice that they are drinking from, they're not goblets, but they're like this black little metal cups that I'm like, oh, are they trying to be like Love is Blind where theirs is gold, but like
Mhm.
they could have chosen like a better color for MAFS. Come on. They just gave us plain black. But I think like also for production's sake, I know from watching way too much reality TV, sometimes they don't like the clear stuff for continuity's sake. So like if the alcohol is like a certain level, a conversation is happening. So I think that's what they're going for. But I'm just like, because I see the cups later on and I'm like, please choose another color. Give us something fun,
You're right.
if we're gonna do that. Okay, so Marissa says like they're in the honeymoon phase and it's like they're being, and she's asking him, are we being the most honest and transparent? And I'm like, that is a good question because
Mhm.
everyone's asking that. So it's good that you guys are asking that. And like I said, I keep going back and forth because I do think that they talk about stuff, but they do keep things light and breezy and it's less pressure. And I want to point out that I just realized, I'm just clocking that it's now 6 weeks, not 8 weeks for them. Somewhere
Oh,
along the episode, I saw 5 weeks left or something, and I'm like, wait, what? It's just
oh,
been 1 week, so I don't know. Unless I got it wrong, that's what I clocked. But you guys let me know if I read that wrong. But that's more pressure. Like six
yeah.
weeks.
I know. I don't think I noticed that either.
Yeah. So yeah, so maybe they're just keeping things light, but also they don't have time. So I don't know. But on the flip side, right? The 6 weeks, 8 weeks doesn't have to be the end. You could
Mhm.
still explore things afterwards, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So,
Yeah, 100%.
He says Do you think you could be sending it harder? This is Mr. Vibes guy. So
Yeah.
this is his language and is like sending it harder. The last time I heard like send it, I think it was like Summer House or something. So it's just his lingo.
Yes.
And he says sometimes, they'll suggest something which I think is production, and she just goes along with it because she's nice. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't know what she's really thinking. Again, bars on the floor, but I think that's good for him to notice and point out. Like I
Yeah.
thought he was just basking in the glory of, oh, I have a wife who does whatever I want.
Yes, 100%.
But he notices. So what are you gonna do about it? So, and the fact that he brought it up, but again, he didn't bring it up the way we've seen husbands bring it up in the past, where they're
Mhm.
like, "Well, you're shallow. Well, you don't have a mind of your." Like it could be meaner. Again, I'm not giving him credit for the bare minimum. It's
Yeah.
just again PTSD from all the horrible husbands that we've seen. That I think like he at least brought it up and mentioned it, and she says she wants to see what he's going to do because she finds him so fascinating. So
Mm.
still she gives us nothing.
I know, I agree. I can't quite put my finger on them. I'm with you. I think that it's just a delicate balance, especially in a situation like this, of wanting to keep things fun and light, but then, like you said, I guess there is always a chance that, you just say yes at the end and see where things go after
Yeah.
that. But I don't know that I feel like you have a little bit of a balance where you
Yeah.
can't, I don't know that it serves both parties best to only keep it light.
Light. Hmm.
And so, yeah, I go back and forth on them. I definitely think that, uh, which we'll get into it a little more
Yeah.
later at the party, but there is just this element of I don't know if I really know who either of them is.
Mm,
And because it stayed so surface level, and there is, kind of the just everything feels like a joke a little bit.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to really see what's under the surface or if they are really going to gel on a deeper
More serious.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it sounds bad. And in conversations with people, I'm like, this is the only kind of wife he would get along with.
I agree. Yeah, I've been so curious about that. I guess the viewers got lucky in a way.
Mhm.
Everyone got lucky in this scenario that this is someone he actually had, like, would have handpicked and almost did. He went
Yeah.
up to her. They have that history. Because
Yes.
I am so curious how this man would have showed up if it was someone he wasn't attracted to
Yes.
or like didn't
Yes.
wasn't good enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was so thinking that was gonna be his trajectory. So, but now
Yes.
we'll never know.
Yeah. Then we would have seen the guy that we thought that he was going to be. I keep wondering if he had got like a Courtney, what the heck
I
that
know.
would have been and what
Mhm.
would have happened. So, but then it would be the flip because she would have been attracted to him, but that's another conversation
Apparently, yeah, we'll get there.
for that. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back for the couple's dinner. All right. The first official couple's dinner of MAFS season 20. I've told you guys before, MAFS Australia comes on 4 times a week. The dinners are on Wednesdays, and I always say if you ever get into MAFS Australia, even if you don't watch any of the other episodes, you have to watch the dinners. That's where all the thing happens. They have the cocktail hour, they have drinks for them, the experts are watching before they go into the dinner, and that's what happens here. So it's where everyone has to talk about their relationship and other people judge it, and it comes all the drama between the couples on and off camera comes out, and it's a really big deal when the couples come in hand in hand. I don't It's supposed to be just normal, but whenever they come in hand, it's like, yay, that's a big deal. So most of them, even when they're fighting, try to come in hand so they can
Okay.
pretend like, oh, we're great. But you can always tell. We see Michelle and Cameron. They're all just getting ready for the dinner. They're all cozied up, saying like, "Oh, we're the second oldest couple. We have to set the standard." Sean is preaching as usual, talking about if our relationship will survive this, we have to withstand the other. Yawn, boring. Stop it. Just, I don't know why he can't just talk normally. Like everything is a speech, a presentation, a lecture, a sermon, something. Oh, Felipe is excited for the tea. Tori saying how, she's an avoidant in romantic relationships and she had anxiety when they had sex. I will say that this was kind of anticlimactic after how the previous episode ended. Like, that was a big, big deal. Like, she
Mhm.
left, she was suffocating in the room and she was doing this, and then, okay, we're going to dinner. What?
I agree. I thought for sure they were going to start with that and it was going to
Yes.
be more of a thing. And, even throughout the episode, which we'll get to, but I don't know that it ever really circled back
Hmm.
to what the root of the issue was, even down to, did I feel like I was getting too close? This made me too close to him and I
Yeah.
wasn't ready, or like, I had bad experiences in the past, or like it
Yes.
just like it made her want to run, but like
Yeah.
why? Or what actually was she feeling in that moment, other than I know we know she felt this urge to flight or for flight,
Right. Hmm.
but just unpacking that a little more. I don't know that we ever really got kind of what the root of that was.
Yeah. And I think it just seemed important to dive into that deeper because I feel like I believed, not like she was lying, I believed or understood what she was trying to say. I think when we've seen how controlled she is on everything and just like, I'm buttoned up, I don't know all this, and then she's opening up and being vulnerable and she had sex and she's like, oh my God, what have I done? But I think
Mhm.
unpacking it a lot more to be like, is it because it was on camera? Are you worried about, you're so private, other people are going to
Right.
see what you've done? And
Right.
also just making sure that we clarify that it's not anything he did. When she keeps saying it was too soon, it was too soon. She initiated it, yes, but at this point, we don't know that. All
Yeah.
we know is that that happened, and she's like, it was too soon. Why did I do that? And making sure like it's not anything he did. I know she said that, but it's just clarifying, going deeper, saying more about that, and then we can close the page on that. But just easy breezy moving away from that, from something that seems so intense. It's
Mhm.
just like,
Mhm.
huh? We're
Yeah.
viewers, like,
And I guess the one piece I can add to that devil's advocate is, the show does do a good job of making something that didn't seem to be as big a deal a huge deal. So it
Okay.
was, kind of this dramatic editing thing at the end
Yeah.
of the episode, but maybe it really was something that they're just, we're working
Yeah.
through it and it was fine. I just had this one moment, but I'm back like I never left or whatever. It's, that could be how it is to them, but we as a
That's true.
viewers kind of feel like we,
We
missed
missed out.
something, or yeah, something got left off the table.
That's true because she did say, I knew the process would be hard, but I'm working through it on my end with him. So,
Mhm, mhm.
they're doing that. Mecca says that he is being more affectionate, but if he doesn't initiate a kiss, then they won't kiss the whole day. And this couple, they're getting ready. They love looking good. They love showing up as a couple. They don't love doing the things that you're supposed to do as a couple, but they love to show people that they are a good couple. So that's where they are. Nick is like, oh, I can't wait. We're going to start seeing some cracks. I'm like, the big crack is in your marriage, sir. So,
Oof,
you know,
man.
focus on that.
Yeah.
He says that he's okay with where they are physically. He's talking to Courtney at this point and asks her, like, was that a thing with your previous relationships? Because this man has been trying to ask this question from their expert session, but they would not let him. Between Paz and Courtney going 5,000 miles a minute, he couldn't ask this question and he couldn't get an answer. And he says, I don't know a damn thing about your previous relationships. And I was so confused at the expert session. Um, he says, for example, like they've known each other for a week, and he asked, like, in a year if he had dated someone, and she cuts him off. We never know the end of that question because she cuts him off.
Yep.
And she's like, I'm not gonna make you hold out. I'm not gonna make you hold out in sex for like a year or something. And he's like, I'm not even talking about sex. Like, can I land? Like, let me
Right.
talk. And again, she doesn't let him finish. She's like, I just haven't had the best experience, when it comes to the sexual side of a relationship, and that's why it's harder. The man just said it's not about sex. Let him ask the question.
Mhm.
He tries to talk again. She cuts him off again. And she's like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I don't want to talk about it. And then he says, okay, all I'm trying to say is like in all your relationships, like in his relationships, he holds hands, he puts arms around the waist. He just wants to know in her past relationships, like, and then he's like, wait, have you had a long term relationship? Because honestly, he has to ask
I
at this
know
point.
nothing. He's like, I literally know nothing.
She says, yes, I have, but then I wouldn't say they were meaningful. Like maybe a year or two. And like a lot of things Courtney says, she says a lot of words, but they're just filler. They are nothing.
Yeah, I kind of wrote that down. With her, it's just really difficult because yes, I think, her brain is clearly going a mile a minute, like
Mm-hmm.
overdrive. But
Mm-hmm.
then, her along with, I just feel like we see it with a few people on the show and just people on the show in general.
Yeah.
I feel like people kind of come in and will nitpick their relationship and what it doesn't have and what they're not feeling. And kind of, it's like they're chasing this thing that they've had before, quote unquote. But then when you unpack those relationships, those weren't good either. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like this, element of I know what I should be feeling by now,
Yeah.
but what is that based off of? Nothing that was healthy, clearly. We start to hear a little bit more of her background. And I think we're all guilty of doing that, chasing
Mm-hmm.
some feeling. But when
Mm-hmm.
you really sit back and think, what is that feeling?
Yeah.
It was surrounded by, she goes on to say this, like she was treated all poorly in these relationships. So for
Yeah.
that to kind of be the standard, I feel like ends up being so unfair to these folks' partners
Yeah.
that, then they're chasing something that isn't even ideal to begin with. So I definitely wrote that down. Is that just kind of like, what is she searching for? Does she really know? There's like
Yeah.
this element of, yeah, I came here because I want to be married and I want a partnership, but without really having any kind of like, I don't know. We could get into this later too, but I just think everyone needs therapy. I've done therapy. I love it. I that's why it comes from a place of
Yeah.
like help yourself, like because we're all dealing with something and it's
Yeah.
just the show highlights so much
Yeah.
just everyone's deepest relationship issues.
Yeah, and even besides the show, I tell people that I'm like, marriage reminds you that you ain't shit. Maybe it's just
Yeah,
me,
no,
but
literally, no, literally, like in some way or another, all of us ain't shit, and we have to figure out why and where and what that comes from, because otherwise, someone else is just going to suffer. And I feel like that's literally
yeah,
all I'm seeing in this relationship. And
mhm,
again, it's not like Nick's perfect
mhm,
either, but and I've had my reservations a little bit just because of the previous show stuff
yeah,
anyway, but this is just a classic case of, self sabotage, overthinking, and again, just like kind of unfair, unrealistic standards or
yeah,
expectations.
yeah. And it's also a reminder that she was cast for entertainment. Like you can't. There's no way you saw her. The first word she told us was, "I'm crazy, and maybe I am the problem." And you're like, you know what? You're getting
Yeah,
matched.
caster,
You're the
sign her
one.
up.
So there's that. And I think like her like laying all the onus on Nick, like she doesn't have anything to work on. And that was my disappointment with the expert session, was
Mhm.
not really letting her like, you have to be mindful of the things you say. And this is before I even watched this episode. And this episode, every time this January 6th denier opened her mouth, it got worse. It got worse every single time. Like, stop it.
I've really been trying to stay invested ever since I heard that. I try to keep it objective and just, but she lost me a little bit from day one. But that's,
Yes, 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 yes. I know. It's just you're already on thin ice and now you're just breaking all the ice. Like just fall through. Like you're not doing anything to help here.
yeah.
So yeah, so I wish Paz had just told her, like, while you're trying, you just have to be mindful, like everything you think doesn't have to come out your mouth. That might have been, good advice for that. So she says her first love, she was so needy. She wanted to be his maid. Like, even if he cheated, it was going to be fine. She was still going to stay. And he's like, I'm so confused. Like, so did you get cheated on? And she's like, yeah, I thought I told you. And she just gets mad and she's just irritated by him. And she's like, yeah, I got cheated on and I let it happen. So she says, when you're in love, you do dumb things like, love is blind. And Nick actually opened his mouth to say that's Netflix. Why?
I know.
Why?
I think it kind of goes back to still just like the surface level banter that they're having. Like that's, what it still goes back to in this moment or, the bringing it back to something like that, like
Yeah.
lightheartedness, I guess.
So let me ask you, at this point, do you think Nick likes her? Where do you think Nick stands with her? Because I know she doesn't like him. Nick is lying through his mouth, but what do you think before I say what I think?
Yeah, I definitely think the man has been on a few shows, so he kind of
Hmm.
knows what to say,
Hmm.
and I started really peeping at this episode where it's just, when he's in his interviews and OTF, his little
Hmm.
side interviews and things like that, you'll hear him say like, "We're doing great, we're really progressing, and
Hmm.
we really have a great time around each other, and we like each other and all of that." But then, when we actually, it's almost like, are we watching the same thing? And again,
Hmm.
I'm trying to hold space for, we obviously don't see a lot of it.
Yeah.
But whenever they're together, it's like it's not a fun interaction. It's
Not at all.
not, and I think she kind of has this, like, I don't know if you call it sarcasm, if that's her version of humor, but it really does not land with me, or I don't get it at all, and so it comes off as kind of like
Me.
rude or,
Yeah.
yeah, mean. I'm like, so I don't know. I guess I've taken the approach like, if he likes it, I love it, but I don't know that I have faith in either side really being invested in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. He seems like a nice guy, but yeah, I'll never be able to not think about the fact that he's been on a bunch of shows before. So how can I really trust what he says? I don't know. I got trust issues with him, and I ain't even met the man before, and it's not my man.
Yes, I don't think he likes her. I don't think they have any chemistry, whether or not she's not a slow burn, whatever
Mm,
she says.
mhm.
It's just not there. And what I can't get over is that he lives in Austin. They're not saying it, they're not mentioning it, but
I
what
keep
do
forgetting that, and I heard that on one of your, previous episodes
you know?
too, and yeah, that in itself, I'm like, every time yes, you're so right, and whenever I think about that, it's like, okay, this is unserious anyway. Then, like,
Yeah.
it was never really, and who do I need to blame for that? Like, why is he on this? If anything, it can
Yeah.
be a little closer, but Seattle to Austin, I'm like,
Yeah.
was it Peacock that reached out to him? Was he kind of like, putting feelers out, like, keep me in mind for another show? Or I don't, like, did he apply? Or I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's automatically, if you want to kind of maintain some of that integrity of, the authenticity and, people
Mhm.
really coming on here to find love, that I don't know
Yeah.
that he was the right person to cast in general, no matter how he decided to show
That's
up. It's
true.
just that paints a picture for people, I think.
Yes, that has been my question. It was like, okay, fine. Let's say we're getting a reality star to get things going. That's great. Fine. Why him? That's just the question I've been asking. Like, even people who have watched Nick on a show don't remember him.
I was gonna say, I've never, granted, I don't really
Mhm.
watch any of the shows that he's been on, like Perfect
Mhm.
Match and stuff like that. I actually never really have gotten into, and I can't remember the other ones he was on. So
Mhm.
I haven't seen him to begin
Yeah.
with. So yeah, even more so, it is like the principle of it for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand that. But I'm just like, if they wanted hype, I mean, he's everywhere. He's in every comment section. He's on every people's just responding, liking. Him
Really?
and Courtney are doing whatever videos of the honeymoon, and that's a
Um,
whole other cast thing. This the current cast is they're on social media a lot.
okay.
Yeah. So, oh, I forgot to mention, guys. Well, I'll mention later. We were talking about Sean being on Cameo. And when we're looking for his costs, a listener sent it to me, but I'll find it because I want to give a shout out to the person. It's $40, guys. But yeah.
Oh
Um
wow.
but yeah, it's not just Nick, but I think because Nick has been on TV, his is more, standing out. So it gets silent, and Caitlin is like, no, not Caitlin, Courtney. Courtney is like, I hate silences. We have to talk. I'm like, oh God,
Ooh, yeah, that's a
this
lot.
is this is exhausting. And Nick is like, honest question. She's like, go for it. Do you think you're ready for a romantic relationship?
And that was a good question. Because again, and like, people take that as a dig, or, her answer was like, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And like, people always say that on the show, but
Yeah.
it's a difference between, like, sure, again, it goes back to like, you can want a relationship all you want, but yes, do you actually feel prepared for that? And so instead of like tensing right up and going to the defense, it's,
Yeah.
there's a reason why he's asking that. People don't ask people that who are showing up to
Yeah.
the table and like meeting them halfway,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it was a very valid question
It
to me.
was. I think that it was at that moment Nick knew he's saying no on decision day. I just
Mm,
think like you can't after going through that expert session that felt like the twilight zone, and then you're going through this trying to have a conversation, she won't let you talk, she's cutting you off, she's telling you all the things that have been difficult, which I feel empathy for her, but it's like you have to work through those things
mm,
to get into a healthy relationship, because you're just going to continue those patterns if you haven't dealt with them. So I think he knew this wasn't going to
yeah.
last. So
Yeah. And do something different from your norm. I think that
yeah.
can go to a few people on this cast and probably on
Hmm.
every season. Like,
Hmm.
again, to come in and kind of expect that you're going to be able to show up the same way you always have or do things the
Hmm.
same. And, it goes back to that treating this like dating.
Yeah.
It just never serves people well because you're gonna fall back into old habits of
Hmm.
whether it's avoidance or being anxious and
Yeah.
overthinking like that. It takes a conscious choice to not fall back into the patterns that you've
Patterns.
always done. Yeah, and even
Yeah.
that, like I hate silence, kind of like yeah, there's a little bit of empathy if anything because it's just to me that's just someone who is so not at peace and so like uneasy just in life.
Mm.
I love me a little silence. And again, it's like
Mhm.
if we're just, that's the good thing where you want to get to and they're still strangers, but you want to get to that point where you're with your partner and it's okay if you guys are just sitting in the same room not saying anything or watching TV and or it's okay to have the silence. So it's just everything about the poor girl screams just yeah, uneasy, anxious,
She's a
just I feel like
nervous.
there's a lot to unpack. And again, yeah, the show is just always gonna bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit of selfishness to me, because yes, you hate silence. What if he likes silence? Why
Yeah,
don't you adjust
yeah.
to that? Some people, when you say stuff, they need a moment to just kind of think of, okay, what did we just say before they say their next thing? You're used to just bleh, saying whatever it is that you think, forgetting about the other person. And Nick seems like, he's just silent. Either that or he's too stunned to speak. Either one is valid. But yeah, you hate silences doesn't mean we have to do whatever you want. Like everything you do isn't necessarily right, for you. And if the things you were doing were great, you wouldn't be here. You're here
So
for a
true.
reason.
We all have to have an element of that humility when we come on the show because no
Hmm.
one knows better than anyone. Because when we come on the show, we are all single. We are all literally starting in the same spot. And,
Hmm.
clearly nothing we've done in the past has worked out. So, yeah, you have to take that step back and have a piece of humble pie that we don't have it all figured out.
Yeah, exactly. So in a confessional, she says, I am definitely coming here with baggage. I was like, you don't say. And I came here because I wanted to be loved. She wants him badly to understand that she thinks he's great and she wants to be physical and wants this to work, but there are barriers that needs to be broken down in order for her to really know him. Once that side of him comes out, the spark will be there. I'm like, but mama, the barriers are from you, though. I just, it's a him, him, him. She keeps saying him. He didn't do this. He is boring. He's not smart. The man went to MIT. I don't know what to tell you.
Hmm.
So, and that's my frustration with her. She's not taking accountability, her part, and she keeps saying she's trying, but I have seen no ways in which she's trying. So,
Yeah, I know. I have a piece when we get a little further
to
into the
them.
dinner too that speaks to that a little bit.
Okay. All right. We will actually get into the dinner. Be right back in a second. Okay. Just like the Australian version, the experts are watching them. Paz and Paul are watching. Paul is like, can you give me a little bit of volume in my ear? I'm like, you're not in the studio. Stop. Put a little bass in my in there. They are explaining to us, because this is the first time they're doing this, that the participants don't know that they're there. I'm like, well, season 21, now you know. So
Hmm.
it takes 5 seconds before Paul says something, and Paz is already like, yes. I'm like, ugh, we gotta go
I
through
did
this.
write that down. I did write that down that I did. That's where I got a little bit of
Yeah.
an element of her like she was here watching a show, or it was like entertainment almost a little
Yes,
bit. And again, it could just be that edit, and her personality is much different from any expert that's ever been on there. And so I think
unfortunately.
it's that combo, but I definitely wrote that down. Like, she is just here, someone get this lady her popcorn. Like, she is here for the tea, and that's it.
Yes, it is. Guys, I'm trying. I know I'm hard on her, but I don't care. That's just how I feel. If it changes, it changes. That's how I feel now. I guess they had leftover candles and flowers from the weddings because the dinner had a lot of
Mhm.
them just over
Mhm.
there. And we're not going to talk about Adam's outfit. We're not, because that's what he wants. And I don't know what he's doing. I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest.
No, no. It
So,
was giving like 60-year-old Hawaiian tourist, like the what you see, like a
mm,
caricature almost of like
yes.
some kind of tourist, or I really don't know. But yes, to your point, it's just an intention grab, and it's
Hmm. With a
yeah.
hat, guys, and a feather or whatever he was talking about. And Paz was like, "Oh, it almost feels like he's not taking this seriously."
Mhm. She clocked it.
Um,
Yeah.
Felipe and Tori come in. I gotta say, guys, they are a bit underdressed compared to. I'm gonna stop comparing to Australia, but that's my baseline now.
Oh, they
The
get dolled up.
Australians, they dress to the nines for their dinner,
Mm.
so this seemed like a little underdressed. But people do say like Americans do underdress, so maybe we're just keeping to our culture. So I guess they have the two quote unquote strongest couples come in, which is Adam and Marissa and Felipe and Tori. And in 5 seconds, we get our first mention of jet skis. So if you're playing a drinking game, be careful and don't drink and drive. And Paul says that he's seeing that Adam makes the move to take control, and that's what he's doing with this outfit. That he's just trying to take control and be the center of attention with this. And Paz is like, yes. They say he's doing that instead of showing people what he's about or even asking. I will say this, Paz did say this, like he doesn't even ask people what they're about. It's more about what he's about. And I'm like, that is actually true. It's
Yeah.
almost like he's scared of people knowing who he really is. Does he even
Mhm.
know who he really is? Question
Right.
mark. So Caitlin comes in. She says that she and Devin are in a better situation. They've gotten closer, and she recognizes that this is a better situation that she's been in the past. I can give her props for that because I'm just like, you got to recognize that. You're like you were in a relationship where he didn't care what you did.
Yeah.
Not
That
good.
goes back to that point kind of yeah, just people, you know, what'd you come here for if you're not going to try and do things a little differently,
Yeah.
or let go of that whatever standard you think you're chasing, or
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
I think that would do a lot of people justice if you come in with a true clean slate and knowing that you
Yeah.
have to change some things about yourself.
Yeah, and I thought it would even be easier because when you have a start and end date, you have an end date. Like you're just like, if it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, it's like I just need to give it my all for that. And after that, you can go back to your bad habits. But in the meantime, while you're doing this, you might discover something new and better for you.
Exactly.
So Nick and Courtney come in and she's like, let's practice physical touch. And then she grabs his hand. We're holding hands. And then they walk in. I'm like, oh my God, Courtney. And Paz is like so excited that they're holding hands. She's like, they're like the dream team. I'm like, okay. And Paul is like, yeah, but they dropped it really quickly. The relax
Exactly.
was silent. Like, calm down. Like,
Yeah.
they're not no dream team. Nikki walks in and she walks in alone. And we're gonna get into Nikki and Sean. There are a lot of things. I'm tired of them, but guys, the one thing you can never take away from Nikki is her bob. Her bob be bobbing, honey.
Love
Like
it.
her hair
Late.
is great, you know.
Yes.
And I just want to point out in the last episode, my guest Raven and I were joking about the fact that when he went to look for her in the airport, when she stormed away, we were like, "Oh, she probably went into the Delta Lounge and he couldn't get in." And then she posted on her stories the other day. She was at the airport and she posted it herself in the Delta Lounge. And I
Are you
was just like,
serious?
I don't by any means think she was listening to me. I just thought it was so funny that we just said that. And she was
That's
actually
so good.
was a member of the Delta Lounge. So that was funny.
Love
And
that.
okay, it was Jane Kelly. Shout out to Jane Kelly who found out that Sean's cameo is $40. So those of you who are fans of Dr. Best, there are 9 spots left, according to him, and you can pay $40 and get a lecture or a sermon from him. Um, they hyped everyone's everyone is hyped, like, oh my god, she came in alone. This is so bad, yada yada yada. And she's like, oh, he had a work thing. He'll be here soon. Paul is like, do we buy that? I'm like, do I buy that? I don't know. Paz says, I think they probably got into a conflict, and of course she says we got into a fight. And one thing you can guarantee when it comes to Nikki and Sean, guys, we will always get a flashback because there's always a fight that we need to relive, that we didn't know about. So we do see a flashback, and Nikki and Sean had a double date with Mecca and Beljolie, a for the culture. And we see, we see a flashback selfie cam of them. They're so excited about it. And then she's like, oh, we had a conflict. Duh. She says they've been navigating it. They're stuck on repeat and it's not healthy. And their version of reality is just completely different. I should pause and just ask you your thoughts on Sean and Nikki in these episodes.
Ooh. Overall, they are so, I guess, intriguing to me because, I mean, my true thoughts are that I think they could work, and I don't think it was a big mismatch. And it's not like a
Mm-hmm.
dig on Nikki. I think she's like fabulous and
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, gorgeous and so accomplished,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think there's this big drop off in I don't think they played in her face,
Mm-hmm.
with this match. And I see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of discourse about that, but I think they are both people showing up, one, like many of us do on the show why they're still single. We all have our tendencies and our triggers and our kind of, bad habits with relationships sometimes. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think this show is just highlighting that. I think they've both kind of met their match in regards to, um, yeah, kind of getting that last word. I think
Yeah.
just the things that have made them successful are also hurting them in this relationship.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just got to be able to turn that off. And so I think, yeah, there definitely just is that element of one-upmanship and getting the last word and who's right. And so they're frustrating in a way that, it doesn't have to be as explosive as it
It
is.
is.
I
Yeah.
really don't think it has to even go there.
Yeah.
But I might be alone on an island on this, but I also still see how it could work out. And I'm not giving up hope just yet
Yeah.
because, again, I think if they can kind of get past their communication issues, I think it could be great. And I think they could be, a power couple. But with each episode, I don't know, it goes down a little bit,
Yeah.
that hope that I have. And this episode was
Yeah.
honestly was not looking good for my girl. I feel like at the end I was like, ooh, again, it might be the edit, but like she was not looking great,
Yeah.
especially to close out the episode.
Yes. I agree with you. I do think it can work. I just don't want to be part of their growing pains. I'm tired of watching their growing pains. I do think they're a victim of they are older and you're stuck in your ways and they
Yes.
have to get past, all of that. Where I did feel for her is like this is what MAFS does, where it's like I want someone tall and you give not 5'9", 5'6". Then she asked for 250. Now, if he's in the 200 range, I think they can make it work. I fear that if it's less, that is a big, difference. That's my concern. And it's like we see what happens when you just give people what they ask for, then you can work on that. Marissa and
Mhm.
Adam, you gave Adam what he asked for, so you can forgive. I'm sure he was like, oh no, alcohol, mac and cheese, but she's hot. So then you can get past that. But you
Yeah.
give her like something that she didn't ask for, then she's already mad about that. Then you have to work on top of that. It makes it harder. That's where I
Mhm.
felt they did her wrong. And I feel like they kind of corner you into accepting that. Like, don't tell her about the 64,000 average. The woman makes 250 to 350. That's nothing to do with her. So that's the only part like I felt like they did wrong. But we're here now and it's like they both need to get out of their each other's ways and their egos and all of that stuff. So I'm with you. It is possible. I'm just the journey there. I don't want to be let me off the train.
Man,
So
it's gonna be a tough one.
yeah. So Felipe shares with Nick, they're talking that, he took time off weekend so he can have date night with his girl. And Nick is like, oh, green flag. But you know that Nick is seething in competitive jealousy because he already said that, Felipe was going to be the worst. He's going to be great and all that stuff.
Hmm.
He tells Nick like it's 99% good, and Nick is like, what is the 1%? I want to know the bad. He says that, she's a guarded person, and Nick is like, you know what, I'm in a similar boat. I'm like, no, beloved, you are not in fact in a similar boat. Like, you're not. He's like, going in the right direction. Again, no, you're not.
So
So
different.
I don't know why Nick is obsessed with presenting a front that they're doing okay or
And that's
better
where I
than
feel
he's
like,
presenting.
yeah, that's where I kind of feel like it goes back to like the whole show thing,
Mm,
and maybe the competitive spirit too. You mentioned him saying some of that stuff in the beginning. I had forgot about that, but you're so right. Where he, not only did he say like Felipe was going to struggle the most, he also said something like, "I think I'm going to have the best marriage," and
mhm,
like. What even does that mean? That
mhm.
it was just that like competitive statement, like we're going to be number one, we're going to get the gold medal,
Yeah.
like what even would you gauge that off of? So I think there is probably that element to it.
Mhm.
You don't want to let people see you sweat, don't want to let people know that you're struggling, but I mean, you
Yeah.
ain't fooling us. We see all the stuff on the on the back end. The other
Mhm.
couples don't know the true ins and outs, but it
Yeah.
is very interesting that either he's being a little delulu in terms of how he's you know
Navigate,
viewing
yeah.
their marriage, or it is just, yeah, trying to put that front on to stay in a higher spot.
Yeah. And two of his shows were like strategy shows where he did well
Mm,
in, and The Circle, and the other one was Battle Camp, where he's pretty good at, things like that. So that competitiveness is already showing. And he's
interesting.
probably treating it, the same way. Perfect Match was a dating show. He didn't do so well in that one. So go figure. So Cameron and Michelle, who are the hope of the season, some may call them boring, some is me too, but sometimes that's good and it works for them. They walk in all nice and cozy, and then Sean comes in, and I will say Sean is dressed up right. Sean is, dressed appropriately, for the dinner, and he
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
greets all the guys first before he goes to Nikki, and the experts clock that.
Yeah.
They focus on Mecca and Jolie, and the experts are like, she clearly adores him. Look at the way that he's looking at her, like he seems reluctant. We'll get to them. I don't understand these two. Tori is telling Michelle that she's an avoidant, and she's like, "Oh, Cameron is the same way." Courtney asked Marissa, and she's like, "Oh, we're just in our honeymoon phase. We're joking. That's what we're doing." Nick is still lying and saying that him and Courtney's communication is, and I quote, phenomenal.
And that goes back to your point. Maybe it's all subjective. Like again, if it works for you, great. But it's there's I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Your season, actually, David and Michelle. Because when Michelle was like all
Mm.
very truthful, and David was like, I like that. At least she's being honest. And I'm wondering if Nick is thinking like, but with Courtney, at least I know what I'm getting, and she's communicating, so it's phenomenal to him. But are you communicating? Is it a one-sided communication
Right. Yeah, no,
type
that's actually a
situation?
really good comparison. Yeah, and I think, then when you relate it to that situation on our season, maybe then, I could throw Nick a little line and say that it's a little bit of like hopeless optimism or something like
Mm,
that too. Like maybe he really
mm-hmm.
is being optimistic, because I think that's kind of like where some of David's was coming from, or like a glass half
Yeah.
full kind of person, and just
Yeah.
like not the type to, which I guess I could kind of see from Nick too. Like they're never going to be the type to really drag their partner or
Mm,
say like,
yeah.
yeah, they're actually awful, and like,
Yeah. He's TV trained. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. So Sean says, men like structure and perspective. He's preaching again. And when he offers, to her, she sees it as anti her perspective. And then it just goes dark from there. Felipe rings a bell and says, okay, we're moving to dinner. In the Australian version, they have a waiter who comes in and is like, dinner is served. And then they walk into dinner. Then something I have never seen on MAFS happens. Adam asks Tori to lead them in a prayer.
I know.
And that truly takes me by surprise. In a good way for me, right? I like that. But there's people like Felipe who's an atheist.
Hmm.
So that's the thought is like, what if there are other people? I'm not sure. Mecca has not revealed his religious inclination, but he might be Muslim. I don't know, like based on his dad and stuff like just thinking about consideration for other people. So I was quite surprised that they left it in. Not really that it happened because I see that that happens, but that they left it
Hmm.
in that. But
Yeah, there's been a few things I feel like that with switching to Peacock is way
mm,
different. Like one, the cussing. There's a few
mm,
times I'm like, oh wow,
even
like
Paz.
like my ears. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, wow, this is not my maths. But that the prayer, and then there was one more thing that I feel like is just different. Oh, just even talking about politics and stuff. Like I
Mm,
feel like they really
mm-hmm,
like shied away from that in other ones. So
mm-hmm.
the way that they even like that was one of Paul's questions
Question.
early on, like
Yeah.
January 6th. I was like, whoa, like
Yeah.
I think it's probably good, but it's just, all of these things, like you said, can just be like polarizing if nothing else. Or, a
Yeah.
lot of times you see shows wanting to steer more towards just kind of keeping things
Keeping things.
general
Mm-hmm.
and ambiguous. Like, so that it was interesting too.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think Kinetic is deciding like we're just gonna go all out because even in Love Is Blind, there's been a lot of politics talk being brought up now,
Yes.
and they're bringing it out to Love Is Blind, and also just TV in general. I actually do think a lot of TV is veering into speaking out more about. If you notice when they show that, it's more about the conservative side. Actually, it's not the liberal
Mhm.
side. They want to show that, but different convo. Different
Yeah.
convo. So Adam says like they're vibing and he felt comfortable around her as we see Nikki and Sean scowling on the corner of the table, looking like they didn't want to be there. Courtney asks, what do you like about him besides him being weird, funny, and wearing weird ass outfits? Like, what's the deal? It's almost like she was like, stop telling us like things are good. There has to be bad stuff. Let us know what it is. Like, she really needs etiquette lessons, I feel, at this
Yeah.
point.
And I don't know if it was, I noticed that like a few times, just even in the OTFs too, with people like there was a good amount of that through these group sessions. So I don't know if that was like a production led thing or if they all really just kind of felt compelled to I
Pull
felt like I
people.
saw that a lot where they were like trying to bring people
Hmm.
back down to earth or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely given a little salty on that. And at least in that particular
Hmm.
sentiment. And that's where I did kind of have my note that, you hear a lot of like oohs and ahs and stuff at these dinners, but that's where it's hard having the group sessions and
Yeah.
having couples that get out of the blocks at different paces, because it's inevitable that you're going to do some comparison.
Hmm.
And, you have to stay grounded in the fact that everyone's journey is going to be different. And a lot of times, especially if someone is staying on the surface, of
Yeah.
course it's going to look like they have so much chemistry and it's fun and light, and who wouldn't want that? So it's very hard when MAFS does the group things
Yeah.
to, there's going to start to be this North Star or this example couple. But a lot of times, again, what is that kind of
Yeah.
rooted in? And so it can kind of be hazardous in, or
Hmm.
detrimental to some relationships if you start to idealize something
Yeah.
without even really knowing what's going on. And So I remember thinking that about our season a little bit, like MM and EKG were off to like a rocket start in the honeymoon, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
very touchy feely, all like, a ton of chemistry. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen enough maths. I obviously like I wanted everything to work out well for everyone, but
Yeah.
I was able to stay a little grounded in the sense that if nothing else, I just kind of knew some of the patterns from
Mm.
the past. Like a lot of times, those people who are like hot and heavy sparks right out the gate
Yes.
crash and burn just as fast as they kind of took off. And
Yeah.
so, but it's hard to think that way in the moment and to tell people going into it. I guess that would be
Yeah.
my, for future people who are thinking about doing maps down the road, just remember like stay
Yeah.
true to what's going on in your relationship, stay grounded because comparison is the thief of joy. And I feel like that kind of is what the Adam and Marissa couple is representing right now is like,
Yeah.
oh, everyone wants that, but as we'll probably continue to see, like we just got to see what's underneath that surface
Yeah.
spark.
Yeah, because Devin is eating it up because it's
Yes.
what it's
Really.
also focusing on the thing that you're not getting, not
Yes.
realizing that it's just one part
Yes.
of, the
100%.
relationship. I was gonna say though, like your season, you guys were the example couple, but is there anyone that you compared yourself to at some point? Where like, oh, I wish. Oh God, I can't think of anyone, but I wish I had that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there was at the honeymoon, I think there was that element of like,
Okay.
it seemed like MM and Kechi had just hit it
Yeah.
right off. And
Yeah.
even Juan and Carla seemed so like in sync when we would get together and,
Yeah.
that they were just like the perfect match. And, it was like, I wouldn't consider myself a slow burn, but in that moment because I also think slow burn is the term that people use when they just aren't
Don't
really
like.
feeling the person. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because um but it did again, like I think Thomas and I's connection just did gradually like and organically grow into what it was over time. But
Mm-hmm.
we didn't get together and have this like, oh my God, like that
Yeah.
just wasn't our vibe to start. And
Yeah.
so I for a brief, like I think very early on at the honeymoon, I think all of us were kind of looking at MM and EKG like, dang, that, they're
Yeah.
so lucky. Like they got that like oomph
Spark
from the
immediately.
get go. Um, but obviously, as time
Yeah.
went on,
Yeah.
things started shifting within our season, and Thomas and I kept growing and growing at like a very healthy, steady
That's
pace.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
so you get an appreciation, and I appreciated that about our relationship from the get
Mhm.
go, but it just became more apparent. It's just how um, much more like longevity can come
Come
from
from yeah.
a pace that's a little slower.
Yeah. I mean, Zach and Michaela are from Houston. They started off so hot. That
Oof.
burned so fast. So bad.
And so bad
So
too.
bad. Yeah. Yeah, that's good insights. But again, it's always been a concern of mine just how much they compare. And especially with this cast who, how do I see this? They don't have that much not depth, but it's not sense
Oh,
either. Whatever it is, like maturity. That's what it is.
mm,
That much maturity to be able to have that discernment, like, oh, we're different and we're just gonna work at our own pace. It's this
yeah,
quick comparison. Oh, you have that. Courtney has compared different people. Comparing her husband to Felipe's wife is wild.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
You have to keep, your head on straight about
Hmm.
how could whatever they have going on possibly have any effect on, have anything to do
Yeah.
with what we got going on.
Yeah. And also, guys, only the two people in a relationship really know what the truth is. No
Mhm.
matter what it is you're seeing in pictures, outside, or whatever, only the two people know, you know?
Um,
So Paul says, like, oh, that's a brilliant question that Courtney asked. And then Marissa answers and says, he's sweet, he's genuine. And, we talk about our exes, we talk about relationships. And she's like, serious conversations. I think she mentioned something about, I just found out he's a relationship guy. And Courtney doesn't shut up and is like, I never would have guessed that. I would really? I'm like, girl, just stop. So Marissa says serious conversations are for sure to come. And in 5 years, will they be aligned? And she's like, I don't know if we are. We haven't talked about it. And Adam's like, we're vibing. Life is short. And then Nick says, okay, your physical chemistry is top tier. He and Courtney could use some of that. But on decision day, will it just be, we'll just vibe through it? and they just keep pushing and pushing to know deeper. I'm like, leave them alone. Like,
Yeah.
focus on your relationship. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear, and it's not going to change anything. But I do think, to your point, that this is something that producers have emphasized. It was giving very much, you guys talk about everything, be open. Now is your chance. No one understands this except they do. So it was very heavy on the keep pushing and keep
Yeah,
giving
I
them.
agree. And I think sometimes it's just, again, the source. Like, I just don't think anyone was trying to hear Courtney and Nick like push somebody on their connection at that point in time. But
That's
yeah, it's, it goes back to like, if they like it, I love it. If they want to keep it like cool, but I just know me. And if I'm deciding to, really go on with a marriage with someone, I have to know we align on some really core things. Again,
hmm
whether it's, you know, politics and kind of where you fall on the
yeah,
human rights side of things is
yeah.
like that would be a complete make it or break it for me. And um yeah, just some of the bigger subject matter, I think
hmm
there definitely is still something to be said that for long-term success, I do think you do have to just see where some people like how
Yeah,
their minds work outside of just
yeah.
the fun.
And it's crazy to me that, it was such a thing when people were still talking about January 6th till now, but Nick and Courtney have not have a single conversation in that regard. I mean, the man didn't even know what beliefs he believed in, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's besides the point. So I don't know. Nick might truly be a plant. So Nick in the confessional is like, "Oh, I was expecting Marissa to be like Adam is thoughtful." And Courtney just chimes in because she can't shut up and is like, "You might not need to be thoughtful when Adam is the hottest out of the whole group." I'm like, "Oh my
Tane, when
god."
I tell you my jaw dropped, I was like, I know you lying. And that goes back to that, like, just not having a filter or not thinking about what you're about to say before it just comes out of your mouth. Cause I couldn't even believe it. And then there was almost a little, I didn't know if she was about to go down like the gaslighting route. Like, are you serious? Like, why,
Yes.
when he got upset, like, are you
Yes.
serious right now? Girl, yes. You just said this other man was the hottest one in
Yes.
the group. Like, that's something you can either talk to the girls about or keep to yourself. But like, yeah, I'm gonna feel some type of way about that.
Yes. Like, how do you not know that? Like, that's what I mean by the maturities, or maybe the self awareness is the word I was looking for, is not necessarily
Mhm.
there. Because Nick is immediately like, that's a wild comment. Then she goes, I mean, you're still the hottest because you're my husband. Not because she's hot, but because you're my husband. And he's like, oh, now she's trying to switch to what you were saying. And she's like, are you serious? Like, are you going to get mad at him for being mad that his wife just said somebody else is the hottest? And
Yeah.
then he's like, "You said it." And then she says, "Oh my god, I just dug myself a hole." As the song in the background sings, I'm the one you want."
The music choices have always, whether they're like copyrighted or licensed or whatever, all across the board, the music choices have always been A1 when it comes to like they are gonna line something up with
They
the
are.
lyrics are gonna match.
They are. And sorry guys, it was, "Am I the one you want?" The answer is no, but yes, that's what it was. So the convo switches to them at dinner, and she says she feels bad for him because he shows up for her every single day, but she's not a lover, she's not affectionate, she doesn't want to hurt someone she cares for, and she knows he thinks it's just platonic. And Paz is like, "Do you see her body language? Like, she's completely turned off from Nick, like, just not even,
Mhm.
turned away from him." And she keeps going and she keeps talking, and she's like, "At the honeymoon, God bless him. He tried to cuddle me, and I'm just looking at my watch like, is it 6 a.m.? I want to get the fuck out of here." Like, everyone is just making faces, and she doesn't stop. She just keeps going. And Felipe is like, "How does it feel to be rejected by your wife?" Nick, God bless him, is like, "I don't feel rejected," with the explanation that I understand her. And I get it. Protect your spouse in public, but also let her cook. I don't know. um, I don't know. He's enabling her behavior though. So
Yeah,
he's
and
not.
it's, you use the right term, self-awareness too, and I think there are I would say more people than not actually are pretty self-aware of how they kind of show up in relationships on this show. There's and then the few that aren't, it's very apparent. And so I
Mhm.
think there is this disconnect between, yeah, again, it goes back to like, Courtney saying like how she should be feeling and, um, what all of this stuff, but then we'll follow it up with like, I'm not a lovey dovey person. So then it's like, yeah, again, it goes back to that gauge of, yeah, what should this relationship look like then for it to be
Yeah.
successful if you're not a lovey-dovey person and you can admit that. So again, it goes back to that gauge like you feel like you're not into him because you're not wanting to like lay on him and touch him like it doesn't come naturally. But if
Yeah.
that's not who you are at your core, then that's not fair to gauge that off of,
Yeah.
like for that to be the standard because from what it sounds like, you wouldn't be that way with a lot of people
People.
or, in relationships in general. So I definitely had that written down too. Just
Yeah.
in terms of like, how should you be feeling by now? Like, what is that gauge that you're basing it
Using.
off
Yeah.
of? Yeah.
She doesn't have an answer, if we're being honest. She says a lot of, I don't know, da, 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 I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that you should fill in the blanks before you sign up for a show like this.
Mhm.
So he says, Nick, that they're not lovey dovey, but they do have things in common. And he, on his part, is not good at verbalizing his emotions. Then he says nice things about her and says, like, there are little things that she does that are actually impactful to him and she doesn't even realize it. And that makes him see the potential. I mean, that was nice of Nick. The thing with Nick is never knowing if he's being genuine or not.
I know. I know. It's like
Yeah.
it all sounds good, but
Yeah.
then when you push them on a little more to again, yeah, get some of that depth or the critical thinking, then that's when he, starts fumbling a little bit. So it's like
Yeah.
I think it comes easy, it comes
Yeah.
easy to like put together like good words or like find positives in your partner. And so he does that well. But I
Mhm.
agree. I don't know why I just can't shake. Like I just hard to take it that seriously, like,
Seriously, yeah.
just from the moment I knew he was on a bunch of shows.
Well, Belle Shelley asked Courtney what I thought was the most important question. Like, are you working to fix it? Like, are you working to do anything? And she's like, yeah, nah, I just need time. Time is all I need. Like, I think that he genuinely likes me, not her. She's sure that Nick likes her. So then Michelle asked her about her past. I'm like, okay, have you like ever kissed on the first? She didn't get to finish. She's like, no, no, I haven't. I'm like, okay. She did say that she had sex with her first love because she thought that it would make him like her. It's so interesting for someone who desperately wants to keep people in the most unhealthy ways, and you have a chance to keep someone in a healthy way, and you are rejecting every single thing that you could do to keep that.
Yeah, it's just so much to unpack, and I think a lot of people would probably give that feedback who have been on the show that going on the show just really does expose some of the stuff that you need to work on and like why therapy would be beneficial. And
Beneficial.
I'm never one to diagnose anyone. Again, it comes from a place of like therapy has done me so good, but
Yeah.
I just feel like she has so much to unpack and I don't know what it is, what happened to her in the past, whatever, but like I truly feel like she needs some deep therapy and that's in like the most non-judgmental like way. I just feel
Yeah.
like there is so much going on there and I don't know what it is, but it's like it's very like I kind of feel bad for the girl because I
Yeah.
think that there's like a lot there.
Yeah.
And the show is just like, yeah, highlighting it unfortunately in not a great way.
Yeah, and I think it starts from like her family, her home life. When she slipped up and is like, it's not like I saw my parents hold their hands or anything,
Mhm, mhm.
and
Yeah,
all
that
that.
all plays a
Yeah,
part. But
yeah,
that's where it needs to come from, not like this person's doing something wrong or
yes,
like this person isn't enough
yes,
or, something's missing in this relationship when really it's like it's how you are showing up
yeah,
is creating a lot of these barriers and a lot that's why therapy is great because a lot of times getting to the root of why you show up how you do, that's what course corrects, not just giving it more time because the
hmm,
same kind of traumas and issues that have been bogging you down, that time isn't going to fix that. It
yeah,
takes active work and self-awareness and recognizing your patterns and like trying to figure out how to change those.
yeah,
So, and not to ramble, but that actually does take me to one thing I had written down um, was I actually kind of liked Sean's analogy. I'm sure you're going to go into this too of just
yeah,
like the competitive athlete thing. I actually, I feel like people were probably going to like roll their eyes and obviously like Courtney just dismissed it, but I think that's really good. And I don't know if it's like, I do have a little bit of that athlete mindset, but
hmm,
I think that is the problem with some, or where some people struggle in maths is because you do think you're supposed to just come in and like,
Immediately.
yeah, immediately click or yeah, operate, on the vibes only or rely on what you've always done and like expect for this super unnatural process to feel like a natural connection.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the dating world too, people are always like, oh, I don't want to force anything. I don't want to do this because it'd be forced. I want it to be natural. And sometimes that's why I think Sean was right that sometimes you do have to, do the little things that you
Hmm.
feel like would be forced or you don't really feel like doing it, but just doing it because then there is that element of practice makes perfect or maybe it won't feel so weird. But like if
Yeah.
you're waiting for like the perfect moment and if you're going to be overthinking it anyway, it's literally never going to come naturally
Yeah.
then to put your hand on his leg or to,
Yeah.
hold his hand or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I thought that was great. It kind of got brushed under the rug, but I do think especially in a process like Married at First Sight, there is a big element to like leaning into the uncomfortable parts and
Yeah.
getting through that to where it does start to feel a little more natural.
Natural for you.
Mhm.
And to give context for those of you who just listen and don't watch, Sean says he tried to give an example to relate to her like, hey, you're a high functional athlete, right? Like you wake up every day, you do your miles. Some days you're not into it, but you wake up and you still do the 10 miles because you know you have to do it. And think of it that way. It's not natural, it's not your best, but you still did it. So even when you don't want to, just try touching him and it could be a goal, for you. And like Camille said, she's just like, I mean, I don't, she just kind of dismissed,
Mhm. Like, I
like,
don't think I'm the type of person that needs to do that. And it's like, girl, you might be because everything about her brain is like cut and dry, black and white, no
yeah,
gray zone. So yeah, you might have to treat it like I'm gonna like do it just to do it because people whose brains work like that, they don't do well in the gray.
great,
And the
yeah,
saying, I'm just gonna give it time and wait for stuff to come naturally, that's living in the gray. Like that's not how your brain works. So you might
yeah,
have to put a little structure behind it or I don't know. That might be unpopular opinion, but I feel like he hit it right on the head with that. But again, it takes self-awareness to be
to
like,
accept it,
you know
yeah,
what? Actually, that might be kind of how, something that would work for me. Is of
yeah.
course it's like, I don't need to do that. Well, what's going to
Shush.
be the solution? Yeah.
Sounds annoying, but yes, I will agree with that. That was no, that was good advice because I mean, sometimes in the past they've had what is it like homework or something where it's like if you're not being affectionate, like just sit there and hug for how many minutes or staring into each other's eyes or whatever, just to get you into that, getting used to it. And in your case, it's like where otherwise you're like, oh, I don't want to touch you. You're just like, you know what? Let's just hold hands while we walk to the ice cream store or something like that. I'll hold you for the entirety of from here to that street light, something or whatever that you can use. Because that's why I like the question that Bill Jolie asked. What are you doing? I don't even know if she answered the question, but I don't know if she's doing anything to fix it. But yeah,
Yeah, anything different from the norm. Like we can't just come into this and be our true normal selves, or that impulse to run is always going to be there. Like you're
yeah,
actively fighting that. Even the couples that come in and are doing well, it still
yeah,
feels unnatural.
unnatural.
You have
Yeah,
to battle that.
yeah. But yeah, she knows everything. She says she feels closer to him every day. She doesn't need to do a repetitive thing because why? He respects her. Everything is Nick's job to do. She doesn't have to do anything. Nick is not helping either. So whatever he gets, good for him. He's like, I'm so comfortable with who I am and I have my life together and I just want to share it with someone. And Felipe is like, you know what? I can tell that you're confident and you like your life. And little Miss Ma'am chimes in and was like, well, no. I don't know if he's comfortable with who he is. Oh, sorry, in the most respectful way. I'm like, everyone gasped. I said Jesus out loud because I'd had enough. I'm just like, vote her off the island. I just don't know what she's doing right now.
Yeah, and it's this like impulse to tell Nick about himself
Yes.
when the self-awareness is just not even in the room with,
Yeah.
like, how she's showing up. I
Yeah.
don't know that she has a broad overview that she's, like, not affectionate, but I don't think she knows how she's showing up outside of that.
Outside of that, yes. Like, who are you outside of that? Like, are you aware that you're hurting people? She proceeds to say, and this, maybe you made sense of this and you can help me out. I don't think the men are as confident as the women are. And I'm not even a Me Too girl, whatever the fuck that means. And two people in a relationship need to be confident and love themselves so much in order to grow. What was that about?
She lost me on that one a little bit too, Tane. I can't lie. But to me, I don't know why I had this inkling like that probably was a conversation that she had with someone. And if I would put money on it, maybe Caitlin. And like, when they were just kind of, you could tell they were connecting on the honeymoon about not really liking their husbands and stuff like that. And so that almost seems like something that was like, I feel like she's talked to someone about that before. And
Mm,
I don't know why I feel like it would be Caitlyn. And like, again, putting it back on the guys, like, this is just their problem. Like, they're not confident. Like, they just need to step up to the plate and just do this and do that and like take the lead and, all those
yeah.
things. That was the only sense I could really make of that because seems so passionate about the fact that they're not confident. And
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like literally trying to go through all the guys, I feel like they all seem confident. Like maybe um Sean has a little bit of like, and he presents as someone with like some
Self-confidence.
insecurities,
Yeah.
but the rest of them all seem pretty sure about themselves and confident. Maybe Mecca a little bit, I feel like, is dealing with
Yes.
some things. Um, but I've never thought that confidence was the issue. And it was, she kind of lost me a little bit with just how passionate she was on that. But I'm glad that Marissa then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
corrected.
said that. I will
Yeah.
say though, when she said I'm not even a Me Too girl, because again, mile a minute, not stopping to take a breath before you speak, maybe she meant a pick me girl. Like, because then she says, I think men and women should be, I think she was trying to say, I'm not the kind of person that believes in like women empowerment, like go women and stuff. Like, I think men and women are equal. She made a comment like that. So that's why I think she meant that. Makes no difference, but I'm just, a Me Too girl is wild.
Yeah, that's not the right wording that I feel like she tried to say. And I, I think I realized early on that her and I differ a lot
Yeah.
in just life beliefs. And so I've like, realize that from the get go. I don't know the girl, so
Yeah.
there's no issues, but I just came to terms with that. So a lot of the things that she says that like jars me a little bit, I'm like,
Mhm.
can I really be that surprised? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we can't, honestly. Like the only way, we say when you say something or when something happens, the only way is up. With Courtney, I just feel the only way is down. There's no up about that. It's also a wild statement because nothing about Courtney screams confident. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but don't say, "Oh, you're so you literally just told us you haven't worked through it, but you let someone, cheat on you. You said you were there, you would do anything for them to stay. You still have things to work through. So how can you say they're confident? Then, if indeed it was Caitlyn that she spoke to, Caitlyn also said, I was with someone who didn't care about me. Like, why would she made a comment that I'm still stuck on? Why would people be nice to me?
and I think those are, yes, yes. So like telling in itself. And again, a lot to unpack there as
Mhm.
well. But yeah, I think that's my biggest gripe with, I guess I could say probably the two of them is they're so critical of how their partners are showing up or not showing up or things they should be doing differently, things like that without ever yeah, it just feels my sister and I were texting a little bit about the episode too.
Mhm.
And it's just like everything that she says about Nick, it's almost like this projection thing of
Yeah.
like she's describing herself. And I feel like, when we get to Sean and Nikki, like I feel like they do that about we're with each other too, Sean and
Yeah.
Nikki. Like their complaints about the other person is literally how they're showing up, or at
Showing up.
least from what the viewers see.
Yeah.
So it's just wild to me to, yeah, like for someone to be saying, like, you guys all just got to be confident coming from someone who presents from, again, from what we've
Let
been
me
able to
see.
see as probably the
I'm
least
not.
confident in the
Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah. Marissa says, well, I think maybe there's a difference between confidence and being vulnerable, and everyone agrees, and you just know that ate Courtney up because I know she sees Marissa as this dumb, ditzy girl, and it's like, what? Everyone's agreeing with her, but what I said, you don't agree with? And Mecca is like, it's true. Like, I feel like I have all these guy friends. We don't dig deeper. And Mecca says the women have brought out a softer side to them, and he can tell Beljolie anything, and he feels safe. It was performative, but we're going to get into that. Felipe was like, yeah, you can tell her anything after you saw that you guys are hot. And now, Paz has not said anything about all the nonsense that Courtney has been saying, but all of a sudden with Mecca, she pipes up and is like, this feels performative. I was like, we skipped Courtney and all of the shit, and Mecca is who we want to talk about now. But Mecca does give Beljolie compliments on how it's freeing and that he gets aroused by it. And Beljolie's like, nothing's happened, guys. I don't know what he's trying to say. And they talk about the attraction story, and they keep saying it's a great question. And if y'all remember, I thought it was a stupid question. How do you ask someone who's more attracted to who, to what? So
Terrible question.
very terrible.
My thought on Married at First Sight is the conversation on are we attracted to each other like really doesn't actually need to be a thing.
Oh,
Like even at least in the first couple weeks or something, like when you first get to know people and then maybe you can address things down the line, but like telling anyone that you're attracted to them or not, I feel like offers absolutely nothing in the beginning. Like it literally it does nothing unless I should say telling someone you're not attracted to them. Sorry.
yeah,
I think it's if it's positive, great,
yeah,
but letting that be known, like what purpose does that serve?
yeah. None.
None.
None at all. I mean, thankfully, Paz and Paul agree. Like it was a dumb question because everyone in the room was like, that's such a great question. That's what I mean again. Maturity, self awareness, whatever the word is, this group, they don't have it.
The blind leading the blind.
She says she's confused because all of a sudden he's more affectionate after he asked that question, but she's like pulled back and she's like, I'm not sure what's going on. So Nikki and Sean, like I said, are scowling in the corner. And at this point, she whispers to Sean, I'm wondering how I can speak on our relationship without embarrassing you.
When
That's
she
that's
said
fighting words, Camille. That's fight like
when she said that, Tane,
oh
I
god.
swear, I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like it's just, and she was saying it so slow. I didn't. That's not what I was expecting her to say. Like I thought it was gonna be like, I don't know the words I'm gonna use to, keep things cordial or to
Yeah,
not like, air all of our stuff out, but to not embarrass you. I was like, shit, that's cutthroat.
yeah.
That is like,
Oof.
yeah.
Straight to the
Yeah,
neck.
that one took me back. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Even Sean had no comeback. He's like,
No,
well,
yeah,
um, Courtney is still talking and told Michelle to her face, like, I even told whoever, I thought you'd be picky and it'll be hard for you to find someone that you like. Okay. Cameron says it's been great, and Paul is noticing, like, look at how Michelle looks at him, like they're happy. And then they say, you've never had a girlfriend. I'm tired of deciding. Has he never had a girlfriend or has he never been in a long term relationship? It goes back and forth
mhm.
every other episode. Devin says it's been difficult for them, that he cannonballed straight into the relationship, right into a frozen lake. That was funny.
Yeah,
And it was his fault when she didn't meet his expectations. He spiraled into rejection and abandonment, and he came in hot. But meeting with Dr. Lisa gave her the validation that she wanted, and it was a breakthrough. I mean, I don't buy the breakthrough. I'm sorry. I don't. I just
yeah,
don't. I think he's still hurting and still missing stuff.
I think so too. And in the Married at First Sight world, like a day is almost like a week, when you
Yeah.
spend that much time with people and just like the accelerated process. So it could just be that even, like they've had a good couple days. So now
Yeah.
it feels like they're all the way back on track. But
Mm.
I,
I mean,
I agree.
I hope they are for his sake because the man is just trying, but I don't. It feels like she's tolerating him. She
Hmm.
keeps telling herself, "This is something I need, so I need to work on it." But he can also tell that it's not like organic. So
Yeah.
she says it's attractive when people work on themselves, and she's working on herself and doing things she doesn't do. And that's the difference between her and Courtney, I will say. Like, she's at
Yes.
least recognizing it, trying
Yes.
to do something about it. And then she's like, oh, it's fun looking at you. And things have turned around. She even asked him for a kiss. And Loki, I'm just glad that Courtney has lost his sister in misery, at least for now, if it is true. Felipe says he respects Tori. She's grateful for him. She tells them that they had sex and she initiated it. She shares about her flight. But she's holding his hand. I was curious to see how Felipe was gonna react to all of this, but they're holding hands. She said it was too soon, and she knows that she self sabotages, and she just needs to slow it down. And she reiterates again, the sex was amazing, but her mind was just not in that space because people keep saying like it had to be the sex was bad or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. She keeps saying it's not. I
I
think
know.
I believe her. I think it's a mind thing.
I think so too. I think so too.
He says it's not normal, but he just wants to make sure that she's good. So he looks like he received it well. So good on them, for that. Paul says that I actually thought Felipe would show up like Adam, and I was like, what do you mean by that? Because you match both of them. So you tell me how you thought he was going to show up and you matched him with a woman. Why would you do that?
Yeah, they've kind of been flip-flopping how like Felipe showed up a little less serious and is seeming like he's locking in a little more, and then Adam showed up like super serious and has been trending into like a lighter. Yeah.
Nikki takes the floor, says that it's been challenging. Mecca and Beljolie got to see it firsthand. She says that the way Sean frames stuff doesn't match reality. And he frames her as the problem, like she's the problem and he's the stable base. And he's like, what I said was, I want to provide the best soft life for my person. And if they have anxiety, I would want to ease it for them. And she goes, you're calling me anxious? He says, no. But that's what she had in mind, and that was it. And then it spiraled. She spiraled, you know. Mecca says, we were there, and I'm not trying to take Sean's side or anything, but there is a lack of accountability on your side, Nikki. And I just want to ask you sincerely, and accurately, are you taking accountability for your part in the relationship? Because there was a lot of attacking, and like, you need to give him grace. She says yes. But the thing is, she just moved on. We don't talk about the conflict. And it keeps repeating itself, and he names names, and instead of naming the problem, he labels her. And this, I think, is something with Nikki and her past. I do think like things that have happened, people that have reacted to her, so she's on defense mode and expecting it. Not to say Sean is innocent by any means, because she's not wrong. He talks to her like she's office hours. He talks to her like, being a little condescending, and he does talk to her like, you are the problem and there's not much I need to do. So,
Yeah, 100%. I think the exact same thing, and I wanted to hear Belle Jolie's take on it too, but she didn't disagree with Mecca,
I
But
said that.
yes,
Yes.
but I was definitely it was telling to me that I really am glad that someone else was there, because
Yeah.
Mecca saying that, I don't think he's the type to just take a guy's side. He seems like he's kind of like flat and objective, I feel like sometimes. And so again, it doesn't put it back all on Nikki to me, but that just was telling. And it's, you never know people when they tell their sides of stories. Like, obviously it's how someone interpreted it,
Yeah.
but it's, is she one to twist stories? I don't know. But again, it obviously landed with her in a way. So I feel like that's the place she's telling the story from,
Yeah.
is how it affected her and how she interpreted Sean's intention to be. And so that was just, I was glad that
Yeah.
someone else was there and someone had an input on it.
Yes, I am with you. I said, why is Beljolie not saying anything? Because guys, they'll support each other. And I'm like, Beljolie, she would be like, well, but she said nothing. But
I
also
know.
Beljolie seems like, oh, I'm standing beside my husband, he's the leader, do all that stuff. So I wasn't sure which way it
Hmm.
was, or editing, you
Yeah,
never know.
yeah, that too.
Any of that. So the whole crazy thing comes up, and Devin is like, you both have walls and you can't see each other because of egos. I'm like, fact.
Hmm.
But he's talking, and Sean, pulls out his phone.
I
And
know.
just like, I'm sure in his mind, he's like, what is this 20 something year old white boy gonna tell me about life? I'm not gonna listen to anything that you're saying right now. But that was very rude. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is. You can take it with a grain of salt, but to pull out your phone and start looking, I mean, we can see through your glasses. You wear glasses. You know how it works.
Yeah.
Stop.
I know. And again, back to what we've been talking about, are people going to come into this really wanting to learn and kind
Yeah.
of hear different perspectives, or do they think they have it all figured out? And not
Yeah.
saying that, Sean, but that's kind of just what that represents in that moment, like the pulling
Yeah.
the phone out. It's like, no, bro, people are talking to you about, like, y'all are having some issues right now. So if it was me, I would be all ears.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah. Nikki says there's a lack of respect, like raised voices, agitation, and it's a pattern that continues. Devin says, what is your part? Like, what part do you play? And she's like, I match his energy. And, to the point where sometimes they've decided that whenever they get heightened, they're just going to call it and stop. And even that was criticized. She said, like, they were talking about, she brings up the whole airport thing and that he said he towered over her, and they're all like, ooh, that was disrespectful, blah blah. And honestly, I think they misunderstood what she was trying to say. She just said, they were like, that height comment was out of pocket. Dude, the man is 5'6". Like, she's not trying to say that. She says I'm 5'5", and for him to imply that I was towering over him when I just got up.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't saying anything. And like,
Yeah.
even Courtney was like, oh, that was out of pocket. Shut up. But
I know. Yeah, I think and a couple words got like dropped out, and I don't
yeah,
know if they all know that story. So literally
yeah,
like how it came without knowing the
yeah,
background, if people are like not really
yeah,
keeping up with what she's saying, I get it, but yeah, it was completely taken out of context. I
yeah.
knew she didn't mean it like that.
She didn't. She kept saying, no, that's what he said. That he said I was towering over her, and then the whole aggressive thing and all that, but they didn't even let her land. They just
No,
heard
she
5'5" and towered. That was it.
yeah, she was talking about herself and almost was
Yeah.
like, how could I at
Possibly.
5'5" possibly be towering over
Yeah.
someone is how
Yeah.
she meant it, but it
Yeah.
came out a little different.
Unfortunate. Adam is like, well, have you guys considered calling it? Everyone's like, whoa.
Just cut to the
Um,
chase.
Sean says it's not in his DNA to call it, like there's room for growth. And Mecca says, guys, there's compatibility there. The experts know what they're doing. That's why we're all matched. And Paz says, well, thank you, Mech. I'm like, why are you calling him Mech?
I know.
You've only been here a week.
I noticed that too.
Stop it. So they're done with the dinner and they're all leaving, and it's an affliction. Courtney just has to nitpick on Nick. It doesn't matter what it is. And she's like, you ordered a Jetta? I'm like, I hope you know that's what the hottest man drives, right? Because we saw him drive his car to the lake. That's what he was driving. And she's like, it's fine. We love a Volkswagen. And then he accidentally steps on her foot and she's like, oh gosh. And I'm like, God, just give him a break or something. So while they're in the car, he brings up the whole confidence comment and says, like, what was that about? Like, when you said that. And may I point out, they had cameras in the car. So he's not the one who ordered the Jetta. They had to rig up the
Yeah.
cameras and all that stuff. So, girl, get it
Yeah.
right if you're going to nitpick. Get her your producer. She was like, well, maybe that was really foul of me to say. Maybe. She says a lot of things with no answers. And she's like, I just mean, like, I've been rejected, but, I have confidence. I was like, what are you saying? Like, I don't even know where
No,
she's
I was
headed with that.
lost. Yeah.
So Nikki says it was a shitty night and she has low confidence that this is something that they can get through, that Sean presented her in a bad light and doubled down on the names that he called her and mischaracterized her in front of their peers. And I'm like, he says his rehearsed words. I've been insensitive. I didn't do what I should do as a husband. And she's like, so why didn't you say that at dinner? He said, I did. She goes, no, you didn't. He's like, okay, I don't want any more fights. And she's like, well, I don't want to fight. He says, I promise I'm not going to fight with you. And he's amazed that since it's all me, since the problem is me, like she hasn't figured out his problems and fixed him. I'm like, Sean, you cannot say you don't want to fight and then you come up with this passive aggressive thing that y'all be doing all the time. Stop
Literally,
it.
literally, they will both take the petty route in a heartbeat, and like it's just never gonna solve anything. That's literally
Yeah.
that's what both of them do, and it's like, yeah, trying to cut each other down, trying to both be heard, and
Yeah.
they're just really, that's what I wrote down, is like they're just really like missing each
Each
other
other.
on
Yeah.
on all fronts. And again, it just kind of stemmed back from, yeah, like stuff they've learned from past behaviors,
Yeah.
or, um, you know, or past relationships, I should say. And it's just, yeah, not productive. Like it
Yeah.
has to, you have to focus on like what's the most productive route, not
Yeah.
just, yeah, who's going
To
to
be
win.
right. Yeah. They need to stop focusing on who's going to win. Even though a little bit, I think when he said, like, when you feel like you're not being heard and you just want to get your point across, but it's not a work environment. You cannot bring that, in there. She says, I don't know if I have the capacity. And he says, why don't you leave? And she hands him his jacket back and was like, I don't want this. And then she walks away. They do get to the apartment together and she's like, I need a break. This apartment feels too small for her. And he was like, I would like you to stay and to have friendly conversations. And I said this before, Sean does this annoying thing where he is being calm, he is talking calmly, and that would piss me off because you can't start a fire and then go, oh
I
no.
think that's Nikki's problem too. And that's, we're getting the edit of her like all fired up and everything. But sometimes that does drive you crazier when
Yeah.
you're like, someone made you mad. They know what they did, but they're
Yeah.
taking the calm route. It'll almost infuriate you more. And so that's why I was like, Nikki didn't get a great edit on this
Yeah.
one. And she was looking like, how he paints her out to be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or it was like fitting, oh, like, it was that time where we saw it a little bit with and Ikechi too.
Yeah.
Like there would be an element like, oh yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. Or
Yeah.
like, and it had the viewers like, oh, well, maybe there is something to it. And so I was trying to stay objective with that too, and just, realize editing and all of that. But they're so interesting to me because they both know, like when they sit back and reflect, they know what the issue is. They
Yeah.
know where they went wrong, or they can express how they were feeling in that moment. Now it's about being able to put that into practice, or
Practice.
doing
Yeah.
something differently the next time, or being able to kind of catch things before they go, derail all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a
Mm-hmm.
full-blown argument.
Yeah. I think the easiest thing about them is like I can comfortably say like both of them are at fault. It's not a this person, that person, both of them are culpable, both of them are at fault. They need to work on things. And the thing is the things they need to work on are similar. That's just the funny part.
100%. Yes, 100. They're both kind of complaining about the same things in a
Mhm.
way. Like,
Mhm.
there's little differences and the delivery's different, but I think at the core, they're both, you know,
Yeah.
feeling the same things.
Yeah. So finally she says she doesn't want to force it. She doesn't want to have a conversation because he says stay and have a friendly conversation. She's like, I don't want to force a friendly conversation. I don't want even to have a conversation at all. And she walks out and she leaves the apartment. That is one of the MAFS deadly sins. Although they didn't give them two bedrooms, but no matter how bad it is, don't go back to your place. Like you gotta
Mhm.
just stick it out and stick it through.
I
For now.
agree.
So
That is one thing that I agree with. And, Thomas and I definitely didn't have any like explosive fights, but I like to think that, if there was something that really,
yeah,
upset me enough, I still would choose to stay in the
stay.
apartment. And I do agree with that from
Yeah,
like a foundational level. I feel like that should be, it's
yeah,
just, again, it doesn't really solve anything, or it's not helping you face the patterns, from the
yeah.
past.
Yeah. So that was the episode. But before I let you go, I do my bouquet and my ashes. Do you have a bouquet for the episode?
Bouquet, I'm going to give to I'm gonna do Michelle and Cameron. I feel like they, it's probably gonna be easy for them to get it a lot of weeks,
Yeah.
but coming from another fellow like boring normal couple, I feel like there definitely has to be. They're obviously gonna get probably like the fewest scenes and the
Yeah.
less like discourse, or the least amount of discourse about them. But there's something to be said. I think they're both doing really well at just coming in. Being self-aware, having deep conversations, but still having fun,
Yeah.
being hopeful, and kind of that approach of like working through whatever versus
Yeah.
like finding the reasons why something wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So I really like their approach. I think, Michelle's super sweet, cute, and Cameron is very like, he obviously has his stuff,
Yeah.
We didn't go too far into it, but I think, the basketball coach lifestyle actually plays a lot more into his lack of relationship than just
Okay. Yeah.
being like an F boy or something, like I think
Yeah.
there's more levels to it. So I say all that to say I like them both individually. I think they're doing things very right and I hope they work out. So I'm going to give them the bouquet for sure.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I was hard on them the first two because I was like, "You're giving me nothing." I'm so like, but now they're getting to each other, and like, I just like also when he gave her the compliment about the airport and stuff like that. So that was good.
Yeah, he seems like not at all a mushy gushy guy. So
Mhm.
when I feel like, the compliments that he gives, they feel very heartfelt and
Yeah,
genuine and not performative and like thoughtful. Like it's not just the, oh, you're so beautiful or you're a nice person. Like I feel I really like how he speaks about her and to her.
yeah. I think he's surprised by how he feels.
Yeah,
Actually.
I agree. That's how it's coming off. Like, oh, like, yeah, I don't know that well, we know he probably hasn't been in many situations to express
Yeah,
his feelings to
yeah,
someone. So that's what's giving it that authentic feel too, which I love.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna give my bouquet to Devin. I just felt like he dropped some nuggets, during it. The man is starving, he's stifling himself, but he still showed up for his people and gave good advice, even though Sean wouldn't take it. But he said some things and it was good. So
Mhm.
I give
Yeah,
it to
it's
Devin.
refreshing to get a guy who's like, or see a guy who's kind of in tune with emotions
Mm-hmm.
and can do some critical thinking when it comes to relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. He was dropping some nuggets for sure.
Yeah. Who has your ashes?
I gotta give them to Courtney. I just like again, I'm trying to stay objective and but yeah, it's just some people, whether it's editing or not, just do not show up as their best selves and think our personalities are wildly different. Like just a lot of stuff just doesn't really land with me.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think, again, if we're talking, other people are giving examples or are examples of how you can be uncomfortable with something, but still lean into it and still be like kind
Yeah.
to your partner along the way.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I think for all of those reasons,
Yeah.
I gotta give them to her.
I mean, you said it all. I think she's been my ashes for like how many weeks in a row. I'm trying, but it's just this was not a good showing. Like, you
Mm-mm.
can't talk down on your husband this way. You cannot nitpick at him this way. You can't just blurt things out. Like, forget about your husband. Think before you speak, though.
Just
Like,
in
it's very
general.
important. Like, do you do this at work? Like, how do you stay employed if you just say the first thing that comes out of your mouth? You
Mhm.
know? So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about the approach that you
hmm
take, and there's ways to go about things even when you're feeling uncomfortable. There's ways to show up, in a way that's, yeah, just still respectful and kind.
yeah, agreed. Well, Camille, this has been so great. It was so fun chatting maps and getting your insights, on this. Can you share with people where they can find you if you have anything coming up you'd like to share?
Yes. I'm definitely by far most active on Instagram. It is Camille 2_Rose. And that's where you can, just see all fun stuff. Me, still having fun with hubby and it's all laughs and just lighthearted and fun and, all the lifestyle stuff over there. So
Yeah.
I like chatting with people in the comments and, you know, messages and all of that. So we have a good time over on Instagram.
Would you say you're vibing so hard?
The vibes, yeah, it's all vibes over there, vibing out.
There we go. Well, guys, you know where to find me. It's Tain Talks on your social media of choice. Please give me a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and stay subscribed so you don't miss out on any new episode. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Pain Talks.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.